Hello and welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. This episode, we're going to go to Zeppelin Field in Germany, where Hitler would make his famous speeches. Then we're going to go to the Eagle's Nest, where that was Hitler's summer retreat, and also his headquarters during World War II. The last stop we have is a World War I bunker. You'll find that very interesting. I hope you enjoy these shows. Keep watching because we've got some more stuff coming your way.
Big, huge, and look at the center. At the center, you can still see that small, and on top of it, or above these windows, there used to be the swastika and the German eagle. So on 18 April 1945, these barracks were captured by the 45th U.S. Infantry Division, and they were given a new name. They were called the Merrill Barracks, and this was named after Joseph M. Merrill, who died in action that very day in Nuremberg. And that is the Congress Hall. The Congress Hall, we're going to see it later on. First we go and visit. We're going to see and visit the rally grounds, the Zeppelin Field, and then we will return and have a look inside. Well,
Zeppelin Field is a field where they would gather and they'd have huge rallies. And you're going to see my brother standing there where Hitler used to stand. Hope you enjoy the shows.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rene. I'm the WW2 leader, and for the next 2 weeks, I'll be visiting several sites, World War II related sites all over Europe. Today, first day, we started to visit the rally grounds over here in Nuremberg, southern Germany, where the Nazis held their infamous party rallies in the 30s. So now let's first say, what was actually the point of all this, what they were doing here? Well, I think the main objective was to demonstrate National Socialist power to the world, right? With these gigantic dimensions, with its colossal architecture, you know, the rallies were meant to suggest to the visitor that he was taking part in something of major significance. And while at the same time, you know, conveying him the impression that he was not significant at all. So some have called these rallies some sort of mobilization for war. Not in the physical sense, obviously, but more in the psychological, in the spiritual sense of the word, right? The Germans were taught here, or at least were being prepared for war and to sacrifice their lives for the fatherland. Then second, the objective was to glorify, with these rallies, to glorify the two central myths of the Third Reich. The first one, the Führer myth, the idea that Adolf Hitler was sent by Providence as a national savior. And second, the myth of the people's community, the Volksgemeinschaft, as the Nazis called it, the idea that the Nazis would do away with classes, and you know, that the idea that this national community was very much founded upon uplifting experience and feelings that could be felt over here when everybody was together. So like I was saying on the bus, ladies and gentlemen, this was not a regular party convention, this was all about ceremony. Okay? Now let me just say a few words about the site that we are standing on. This is called Zeppelin Stands and Zeppelin Field. And the name was taken from a German count, Mr. von Zeppelin, who landed here in this very area with one of his airships in 1990. The whole area could accommodate up to 100,000 people. Yeah? It looked a bit different back then. No, let's first say a few words about the grandstand that I am standing on here. The design was based upon the Pergamon altar. That's a classical structure from ancient Greece. What else? Well, it looked a little bit different back then, you know. If you have seen footage, you know, from it, then you might remember that on top of the building, behind me, there was this huge swastika. And then on either side of it, there was a colonnade, you know, a row of columns that went all the way down to both sides. Yeah. So look, this was a really impressive building. Well, the swastika was blown up by the American forces in April 1945 when they got here, and the colonnades, because they were in a bad state of repair, they were torn down in the late 60s. Now, it may still look, no, not impressive, but you know, huge. It's huge at least, but you should know it was built in a bit of a hasty way, of somewhat shoddy materials. This is not made out of solid rock. This is just bricks or stone blocks over brick, or stone blocks over a concrete base. In this case, limestone blocks over brick. Now, then just a few words about the field. This is where Hitler spoke to the masses. This was also where the big wigs were sitting, the high Nazi officials. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, where Hitler spoke to the masses.
This is my brother Bill, who thinks he rules the world, where Adolf Hitler stood.
And the crowds gathered over there, and they would respond, and they would swear their loyalty to their leader and to the fatherland. And so what was actually basically going on here was some sort of a ceremony. A ceremony was celebrated of the Savior and the Chosen. And like I just indicated on the bus, you could say somehow the Nazis had invented some sort of political religion. It said they had developed a set of customs, of symbols, to give themselves and National Socialism some air of sacredness. Now let me...
Eagle's Nest. The Klostien was a favorite place for mountaineers and nature lovers even before the Third Reich. In the Berchtesgadener Chronicle of 1791, the last Propst, Joseph Conrad von Schraffenberg, appreciated the beautiful panorama from the Klostien. He admired the view over the Berchtesgadener Alps and into neighboring Salzburg. With Adolf Hitler came the turning point in the history of Obersalzberg and Klostien. After his first visit to the Berchtesgadener land in 1923, Hitler was so impressed by the alpine landscape that he decided to settle on the Obersalzberg at the foot of the Klostien. 1933, after taking power, Hitler began to rebuild the Obersalzberg as his private residence, then later as his government headquarters. Martin Bormann was put in charge of acquiring the land necessary for the construction. Farmers and townspeople who lived on the Obersalzberg were either forced to sell their land or it was confiscated. 670 hectares of land were also taken from the area around the Klostien that had been used for forestry and parkland. 1937 General Inspector Engineer Fritz Todt was put in charge of constructing the road up to the Klostien. Under conditions that are unthinkable today, a road 6.5 kilometers long and 4 meters wide was carved out of the side of the mountains. 800 meters altitude had to be covered, 5 tunnels were dug and a parking area where the buses could turn around was built at an altitude of 1,700 meters. From there is a tunnel 3 meters high, 300 meters long straight into the mountain leading to a round hall covered in hand-chiseled natural stones. In the hallway is the entrance to the 124-meter-high elevator shaft which was blasted out of the mountain. The elevator has green leather seats and brass mirrors on the walls. It leads directly up into the Eagle's Nest, which was built after the road was finished. The Eagle's Nest, an impressive granite stone building, was furnished with valuable furniture. The rooms were as follows: a huge round reception hall with many windows and a marble fireplace, dining room, kitchen, guard rooms and the pine-paneled Skoritzkelstoop. The road and Eagle's Nest were built in 12 months in 1937-38 from May to October, and the work had to stop at times during the winter. The cost for this technical masterpiece was 30 million Reichsmark. The structure was given to Hitler for his 50th birthday. The Eagle's Nest was not damaged during the air raid on April 25, 1945. It was confiscated by the American occupation troops and kept under surveillance until 1952, although on July 18, 1952, the Eagle's Nest was retroactively reinstated as a possession of Bavaria from June 20, 1948. After it was returned to Bavaria, the question arose whether it should be blasted off the mountain along with all the other ruins to avoid any political exhibitions, the senseless destruction of one of Germany's most beautiful lookout points, or to realize the most obvious idea to turn the Eagle's Nest into a tourist attraction with positive economic results. In 1952, the Bavarian government leased the Eagle's Nest to the Berchtesgaden chapter of German Alpine Society. The American occupation troops had nothing against this plan. The area could finally be reopened to the public.
On the top of the Eagle's Nest. Some brave people walking up to the top. But then again, that's them and not me. This is the tunnel we walked through to get to this room, which has an elevator, which is taking it up to Eagle's Nest, Hitler's retreat. As you can see, the people are waiting in line to get on the elevator. This is an interesting little...
The Bavarian government founded the estate of the Berchtesgadener land, which was at one time used for National Socialist purposes, now to support charities and community projects. The purposes of the foundation are to support the health services, nurse the sick, education and carry on the local tradition.
One more beer. Thank you.
All right, we're now in a World War I bunker built in 1915. These bunkers went on for miles. They're in what, like a coal miner's cart, and that's how they got around. You'll see in the footage where the doctor's quarters were, where the kitchen was, and you're going to see the scope that went up. It's like a submarine periscope that went up, and they could see above them what was going on, and they could fire their guns from several locations, which is really amazing that this was built in 1915. Well, we're coming to the end of the tunnel here. But you know, the gentleman told me that these soldiers were underground for all day long and all night long. They only got 3 hours a day to come outside the bunker. And that was it. The rest of the time they were in these bunkers. And amazing with the generators there and everything. It's a marvel, really. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Salute. Upcoming episodes, we will be going to all the cemeteries over in Germany and going to Normandy to hit the beaches, and a couple other surprises, museums and the Battle of the Bulge. So a lot more coming your way. But till then, for all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Until next time.